There's numerous ways to select stitches on the Bernina 880 sewing machine. So I'm just going to go over some of the basics and I'll let you start to explore all these amazing corners that this machine has and stitches in all different places. So when you turn your machine on, you'll immediately be selecting the straight stitch, all automatic for you. So as you pick a stitch, you can see that you can pick it here by just selecting the stitch. You can see that there's more in this section, page 1 of 4. So touching the little arrow to the side will get you to all the additional kind of utility stitches that you find in the first tab. Now, if you don't want to be paging through all the screens, note you can touch this little arrow here. It practically is like a little window opener, and it opens up so you can see more stitches at a time. So now instead of 4 pages to flip through, there's only 2. So that is one way to select your stitch, and you can touch this and kind of even come back to a more normal sized screen. There's all the stitches down through the side here, decorative stitches, and again more pages too. Don't forget to flip the page, 1 of 2 here, or again open up that window and realize all those folders have tons of stitches in them. Keep in mind any of the folders with the little plus on them are stitches that actually sew side to side. So they're going to be bigger stitches, and you'll need to be aware of where you're starting because those stitches are ginormous. Remember, the size of stitch you see on screen is the actual size that it will sew, and it will always give you that starting point and an ending point as well. So you know, again, where to start so you're not running off your fabric. Alphabets are all together here. Again, multiple pages. Now, some of those alphabets don't look like some that you might be using. Don't forget, you could use these as decorative stitches as well. I've had some people add some stitches to their Stitching Cosmos quilts, and I was like, what stitch is that? And then they said, oh yeah, it's one of the alphabets that is not American. I'm like, that is genius. Buttonholes here, quilt stitches all have their own menu here. Look how many pages of quilt stitches you have. Definitely take time to stitch these out. We have a link below where you can learn how to stitch out a beautiful stitch book. It is one of our free videos you can watch in our Bernina Stitching Cosmos online course. If you've saved stitches, we will have a personal program area where you can come and pick the stitches that you've saved. This last one is actually a history of stitches. So any stitches I've actually stitched out, not just touched and looked at, but physically stepped on the foot control and activated, will show in the history of this machine. So if I can't remember what stitch I stitched 2 days ago, if it hasn't been too many stitches later, it will still be on my list. So it's also a quick way to go back to some of your favorites in the history of the machine. Now, that's not the only way to select stitches. If you know your favorite stitch is stitch number 407, you can touch the I and open up the 0 to 9 search box and type in 407 and your check mark, and it will pick the stitch of that particular number. So if you are doing your stitch book and you actually have them numbered, all you have to do is come into the eye and select the stitch 902 and see that particular stitch come up on your screen. Another way you can select stitches is actually using the Bernina Creative Consultant. So here with the little dress form, this is where you actually pick a fabric first. So today I'm just going to be normal and pick like a cotton fabric with a minimal, nothing too thick or thin. And I can actually pick a technique. So with the technique I pick, the machine will pick the right stitch for that fabric. So if I'm looking to do a buttonhole, it will pick the right buttonhole from like the 12 that are in here. Or if I'm doing a free motion stitch, it's going to make sure that I get to the right stitch and use the right foot. So how about this? Let's just pick that buttonhole and it will take me to the correct one and I'll be set to go. So again, that's another way to select stitches. So really fun. Again, we're going to be working with a lot of these unique ways throughout all of our videos. You can find them at sewingmastery.com. The links are below where all the videos, over 120 that we're doing on this machine.